Hard Hat's all about showing up to play hard, doing what it takes to win.
If you want to cement legacy, win another.
More Luke.
He's your third center.
You don't want to pump him up too much, but it's hard not to.
This might surprise you, but this is maybe the most I've ever agreed with you.
Come on.
I love to hear it.
All right.
Woo! The new intro.
Worked in a little bit of a new intro.
The new intro is back.
Look at this boomer right here.
And the song remains.
Wow.
Nick.
Who can cut the song?
Suck it,
I don't
Nick.
even know how it works. That was a nice little fade out. Yeah, the song is awesome, and it's not going anywhere. Joe Mazzulla sitting down to the podium here. We're going to start the show off with Joe. A little bit of Joe. Here's what he has to say about the 108-89 win over the Heat tonight. Extremely shorthanded Celtics. We'll start there with Joe, and we'll keep going from there.
So the other day you said you like to reward guys for their work and stuff. You played almost everybody who was available tonight. Was that more a product of the injuries you guys had, wanting to, test different things out on the court, or were you just trying to reward those guys for the work they put in?
I think it was a little bit. It was mostly because we had, 3-4 guys out. But that happens over the course of the season, and the guys got to be ready. So our staff in Maine and in Boston does a great job keeping the locker room ready, and everybody that played over the last 2 games, I thought, played a part in the process of winning, and that's what you look for over the course of a season.
A lot of those lineups haven't played together this year. What does it say about the guys that they're just able to sort of make it work with whoever's on the court?
Yeah, I think one of the strengths of the team is the basketball IQ that we have, and so they're able to understand spacing, the matchups, and what we're trying to accomplish. So, yeah.
Joe, with those guys, or really anybody, you're not big on like telling them or saying you're going to play tonight.
Mm-hmm.
How did that develop for you? And, how do you feel like that kind of puts guys in positions to succeed when they do get called?
I just feel like if you give a guy an idea if he's going to or not going to, it changes his preparation on a daily basis. And so I want our guys to come into the arena every day thinking that their process is important towards winning. And they have to be ready to go, and they got to treat every single day, every single game as if they're going to impact winning. And so by not telling them, it allows them to just treat every single day as if it's the most important day. And they do a great job of embracing that. But it's important because there's just a lot of unpredictability over the course of the season. You got to be ready to go at any time. And if you're only ready to go because you're going to play, then that doesn't really help your process.
Joe, normally you guys will, on a back-to-back, stagger Kristaps one day, Al the next. Yesterday, you played both. What went into that decision? Was there something that you saw today? And then what made it so Luke played as well as he did and Neemias Queta played as well as he did?
We did it last year at the beginning of the season in the Cleveland-Orlando back-to-back. In the Orlando game, in the Cleveland game, we played both Al and KP, and in the Orlando game, we started Lamar Stevens at the 5. So in those situations, depending upon, we also didn't know Derek or Jaylen were going to miss. So you just try to look to see the matchup. Can you win the matchup? What does the matchup look like the next night? Where can you plug in your pieces and stuff like that? So we try to do that a couple of times throughout the year when the matchups present themselves as an opportunity for us to, for an advantage situation.
Is that just to keep the continuity?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And just for Luke, just having, the block shots, but not just the block shots. He played some really good positional defense as well. Just to see him come out and do that. What went into that?
Yeah, when he plays with the level of physicality on both ends of the floor, it makes our team different. And I think the two things, his two biggest strengths are his physicality and rim protection when he's at his best, and then his screening versus different coverages. And I thought he saw both of those throughout the game. And he just got to continue to do that. But when he plays at a high level, we're a different team and we can go to different things.
So there we have it. Joe Mazzulla doing his thing. Bobby Manning, what you could tell? Sometimes what he's not going to answer a Bobby question. You could see in this one, he couldn't wait to be asked that because it's part of the Joe philosophy. It's his ethos. And he's like, it's almost like, why haven't you asked me about the town? Why don't you ask me? Why don't you ask me why I don't play? Why I don't tell people if they're going to play? Like, what's wrong with you idiots? Why did you just accept that at face value? So Bobby finds it interesting, and so do I, that they're not prepared. And that's kind of what I thought the answer would be is like, yeah, your preparation might change. Like if you think you're not playing, you go eat like 8 donuts beforehand and, maybe puff a little and just be like, it's cool. I'm not getting in. But if you're like, hey, I got to be ready all the time, I guess that's the bones and the whole stay ready crew situation. So I love this, Jimmy. And again, it's going to be difficult to do this show without Noah and Bobby until they jump on, because this is the Luke and Pritchard show tonight.
No.
Question about it.
Bobby, I mean, how long are they both going to be like at those guys' lockers, just waiting to say, so how good you played tonight? Like, how did it feel to play that well?
Does everybody know? I'm the one who thinks you're good, by the way. Like, I'm I'm the guy who said all-star, right? I'm the Luke guy.
Yeah. Right. So
those guys
Luke,
might get.
So
I'm
Luke,
gonna guess.
we already knew this about you, Luke. But like, how good did it feel, like, to get all those blocks out there?
I'm guessing that Luke. It's gonna be. I'm gonna guess it's a Luke and Pritchard double podium game.
That would be
epic.
That would be an elite podium. That would be like this. Like, remember, like a couple years ago, like they were the energy guys. They were the spark plugs.
Yeah.
Now they're getting their own podiums. Podium tag. Because you know what? It's not a Tatum podium night, so that's one less option right there. Maybe White's getting some treatment on the foot. Brown coming off an illness. So who do you have left? You've got Pritchard and you've got Luke. And I'll tell you what. The Pritchard hype train has left the station, John. I mean, it is out there. It is chugging down the tracks, and it is not stopping. The fans are. He's the fan favorite right now. He's absolutely the fan favorite. I don't think you get bigger cheers at the TD Garden than you do for Payton Pritchard right now. And by the way, well deserved. Another game of 20 plus points, his fourth straight, which is probably I think it's some kind of, I don't know. I saw something on Twitter about it being some cool kind of record of some kind. But point being is he is not even arguably, he is the best bench player in the NBA right now. And again, that's for a team that has the best starting lineup in the NBA. Arguably. He
might be, I love a little hyperbole. He might be like, we're running out. He might be the best player ever. Yeah. Right. Well, we're running out of things to say. Because like at one point, like sixth man is almost like, it's almost over. Like, it's almost like one at this point. And then Noah's all-star thing, that's not happening on this team, but she can hold on to that if he ever moves on, and or if other people move on here. We're entering a conversation with Payton Pritchard. We're entering a conversation with Payton Pritchard where it's fair to ask, is he your best scorer? And I know people will be like, shut up, Tatum and Brown hater, but I'll ask you this outright. When a shot leaves his hand, what are you most confident in when a shot leaves someone's hand? Tatum, Brown, Pritchard, White. I might go Pritchard, White, like 1 and 2. It's crazy, but like that's just how I feel. That's not me like, working on an agenda or like, serving up my haterade or whatever. I'm simply like, when he has it, I'm like, this is going in. That's just how I feel. It's natural. Before I have a chance to think about it, that's my natural reaction every single time he has the ball. And not just when a shot goes up, when he's dribbling and looking to create, like there's one possession today and everyone's going to think this is turning into the John Tatum hate show, and it's not. But one Tatum possession, Tatum really wanted the ISO, but the dribble got away from him a couple times and he just kept dribbling. I'm like, he's just going to end up firing heaving some bad shot here because he just wanted. But with Pritchard, if he doesn't have the first one, he goes to the second move, goes to the third, goes to the whatever, and then he finds a way. And like as Joe said last game with the 3-level scoring, it's getting insane. Like he's going, he bodied Hero like he was just a chump. White's a fair call. White's a fair call here.
A lot of people are saying, well, I'm just letting you know. A lot of people are saying,
but right.
Your point stands. Yeah. Your point absolutely stands.
And guys, I get it. It is an overreaction. It is hyperbole.
Okay, Johnny, let's not talk about it at all until the playoffs. Nothing matters, I guess. We'll just say, it's just the regular season. No, listen. And you could go back to other shows, and John, you make a good point. And one that we have mentioned before on these shows is that Pritchard might be your best shooter. You can say he might not be the best scorer, but he's probably your best shooter. Meaning when, like you said, he takes, whether it's transition, whether it's designed play, pull up, off the dribble, whatever you want it to be, corner, pocket three, your question is valid. Is he the guy that you're most confident is going to hit the shot?
Yeah.
He's one of the best three-pointers in the league. Started to look like that last year. There were definite signs of his improvement. And I'll tell you what, John, because I'm on social media, I poke around on Instagram and Twitter. I haven't been tweeting really at all. I got to get back on it a little bit, but I'm out there watching. And I'm on the Instagram, on the IGs, and I see what players.
I see it. I see what the kids are
I
doing.
see it. I just want everyone to know I see everything, okay? Real G's move in silence like lasagna, okay? And that's me right now. But I see how the players give Pritchard respect, his teammates. Like if there's a highlight reel out there, I guarantee you there's a Celtic that will toss a comment on it, and it'll be Jaylen Brown, and like it'll be one of the star players or somebody on his team making sure that people understand just how good Payton Pritchard really is. And it took a while for the national audience to even know who the guy was. Obviously out in Oregon, they know, but national audience, the TNT viewers and that stuff, now they know. Another rap quote. If you don't know,
now you know.
Now you know. There you go. You got that one. So that's where we're at with Payton Pritchard right now. I mean, bold prediction of him being sixth man of the year is looking not very bold. I had a bold prediction that included Payton Pritchard as well, of him winning the 3-point contest. That's looking like it could be very possible as well. So the Payton Pritchard, the P party, we've been partying about Pritchard for a while now, but now everyone's joining the party, which is it's great to see.
It's
the Boston Tea Party.
The nickname was always the best one. It's still the best one, and it's still the best one. It's by far the best. But yeah, no, I wasn't always on board. I thought Pritchard was a 4A YMCA player because he was, meaning
he was a
like
4-year player in Oregon.
Yeah.
He was, a guy at the end of the draft, right? That, this guy might be able to,
put up some garbage points here, but
sure.
like he wasn't doing this. Like he started doing parts of it, but not. I mean, he's on a ridiculously different level. What are you smiling about?
Just stupid comments, pretty much.
He's on a different level, and like we've always respected his like gym rat nature of like a guy who works and works and works, but that was more like a guy like Pritchard doesn't get into the league without this. I never saw sixth man. I never saw all-star. I didn't even see a guy that I honestly thought was worth anything other than an end of the bench roster spot, but someone who's never going to play meaningful playoff minutes. Last year changed that narrative because, they stripped their bench. They had to play them, right? Like you had your big six, and then it was like, who the hell is playing after that? We began last season, Jimmy freaked out about it. Like they given Pritchard meaningful minutes. That's crazy. Like Bobby was even talking about it. Bobby likes Pritchard a lot. Like they killed their depth. They used to have the 3 guards. Now they've got the 2. Does this mean Pritchard's going to play? Hauser, all of those guys, and I thought like they did okay last year, but I don't think Hauser and Pritchard were awesome last year. I think they did better than we thought that they would do. They contributed.
They were awesome. They were awesome for what they were expected to be.
They had moments where they had stretches and games where they were, really good, and Hauser with a shot and this one. I didn't see this where like again, it's my vibes completely changed. Like the game doesn't even begin until he enters. Like his energy is different, but the confidence, it's like a D White vibe with like, I feel good with the ball in his hands all the time, that something good is going to happen because he's got the great handle. And I'm stunned when he lets it fly and it doesn't go in. You're just expected to drop now. It's unbelievable.
No, it's like the bar has been raised. So like, yeah, they were awesome last year for what they're expected to do and the roles that they played in. But now Pritchard's awesome in a much bigger role for this team, and he's thriving in it. He's still exceeding expectations. 10 of 17 tonight. You get low post P going on now too. As lethal as
I like this, Landon. IT vibes. Like there's something there. There's
especially because he's been doing it in the fourth quarter too.
Yeah.
So that was IT. Everybody knows was Mr. Fourth Quarter. Payton Pritchard. We're gonna have to come up with something clever about that as well. But he's doing it when it matters. It's not garbage time minutes. It's not meaningless stuff. It's scoring from, it's not just 3-pointers right now either. He's all over the court. Offense, defense, in the paint, low post, grabbing rebounds. He had a nice one tonight, a good one chased down tonight that he ran after a rebound and extended a play, got Peterson in the line due to it. And it's just the way he plays the game, and it's how he made it into the league. He had to play like this. He had to play 110%. And there's guys out there that, just like we said last year, John, opposing teams take a look at the schedule and they say the week coming up and they see the Celtics and they say, oh God, like the guards, they say, oh God, I gotta play against White and Holiday for, 40 minutes. Like, this is hell. Now there is no break. There is no off button, whether it's White, Holiday, and now Pritchard. You are getting pressed on the defensive end. You have the most annoying, plans coming up for these opposing players about to have the most annoying experience on a basketball court when it comes to playing against these 3 guards, because they are just in your face nonstop. And Pritchard's driving the train now, literally driving the train.
Yeah. I got it.
Yep. Good night.
I got a jacked up kid.
Yeah. Well, they should be jacked up. Yeah, they were all having a good time tonight too, I heard.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, for those who don't know, I was at the Garden. I raced home for this show.
John was so pissed that he left early.
I left. It's a school night too. I had all the kids. Left. Father of the Year sort of stuff,
No big deal.
Yeah, no big deal. Just whatever. Taking the kids to the Celtics game. Left. 4th quarter. Yeah, it's fine. It was good. They're still jacked up over it. Loving it. Got a little TV time too
for the kids.
Yeah, for the kids.
I thought I saw you on TV, John. You made a little cameo.
Got a little TV time. One of the cameramen there, Jeremy, is a buddy. He saw us. Shout out Jeremy. Hi, Rose. they're still buzzing.
Bring him on. Get him on the show. Let's get their take. Who's their favorite player?
Okay.
Do they have one? There we go.
Who's your favorite player, honey?
Jason Tatum.
Jason Tatum, of course.
Oh, well, you're going to get punished for that, I think, but that's okay.
Bye, Lovey.
What about Payton Pritchard?
Love you. That's jealous.
That's jealous.
That is jealous. Yeah.
Daddy-daughter night at the TD Garden. Wow.
Yeah, it was. It was daddy-daughter night. Hey, Catherine. Yeah, it was fun. Rose rage. That's exactly right. There's a lot of rose rage there. So yeah, sorry. They're
Tatum,
still
the favorite player. She hasn't watched your show, I guess.
Daddy, why do you hate Jason Tatum?
Yeah. She just says that just to bother you, instead of yeah.
Yeah. That's funny. They went to camp with Deuce.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah.
What's
they
Deuce
went
at camp? Is he
I don't know. They didn't know it. I didn't know it till after, and they're like, "Yeah, we went to camp with a guy named Deuce." I was like, "Oh yeah, that's Tatum's kid," because he goes to Fessenden. That's where they went to camp one year. Anyway,
gotcha. Deuce. We'll have to find out.
We digress.
Maybe some sparks.
Yeah. Right. I was like, you could do worse.
That'd be kind of an awkward Thanksgiving table. Hey, let's play some of the clips, some of the sound bites.
That would be a little awkward.
Every dad would be so proud to have their daughter bring Jason Tatum home for Thanksgiving, and Tatum walks in here. It's like, oh God, this guy really?
Scrub the YouTube history. Nick, kill it. Kill the channel.
Yeah. Oh my God.
So anyway, back to the Pritchard stuff. Yeah, look, I know some people are saying a bit overreaction. We're running out of stuff to say. Where do you go? What's the next thing you talk about? Should he be starting over Holiday? People are going to start having conversations like that. I'm not having that conversation, but I'm telling you, we're running out of runway with what we can say about sixth man Pritchard. The reality is, we don't want to mess with a good thing. This is what's working. And it's ridiculous because there's no drop. Not only is there no drop, the energy moments in so many games this year have come because of Pritchard and his second quarter or fourth quarter scoring or whatever it is when he enters the game and just catches fire and takes over games completely. And you're no longer dependent on just I hope we survive the non-Tatum minutes or this and that. You're fine. You're fine. You're fine with so many people. Look at this freaking game tonight. Fine.
Mhm.
Miami's without Butler. Like Miami's
Yeah, I mean,
shorthanded too.
Whiff opponent for sure.
You're without Horford, friggin' KP,
Porzingis,
Holiday, Hauser,
Holiday.
four of your top 8 rotation guys, 3-star. I mean, give me a break here. And it's not even close. It's not even close. You're playing friggin' Peterson like legitimate minutes in this game. I mean,
Peterson had a little swagger going on. You think
He did. I
smiling
liked
at the
him.
Bench.
Yeah.
Liked it too. Can I just say something real quick, John?
Yeah.
Off topic.
Yeah.
People in the chat are saying it's not a hard hat game. Why are you wearing the hard hat?
Okay.
They are
tell them.
correct. They are correct. It's not a hard hat game typically. However, guys, today is Cyber Monday. Black Friday was, obviously on Friday. Everyone's shopping the last couple of days. We're doing our own Black Friday, Cyber Monday at the CLNS merch store. Everything is 30% off, including hard hats. We get the green ones, we got the white ones. So I'm rocking the hard hat tonight, not because it was your typical hard hat game, although I think you can still make the case.
Summer? Is it summer?
No, that's not the one. We have another one. Damn it. It's Black Friday 2024.
Not that one?
Not that one either. It's Black
How about-
Friday 2024, and I know Amit made it because
No, there's no lower third. There was a video.
there was a video. There's no lower third.
Uh,
Do we have the video?
Maybe.
Here we go. What's this? There it is, dude.
You got it?
Wait. That's the code. I think I wrote the wrong one in. Oh, that must be the new code. There's a new code. There's a
What
new
is
code.
it?
Cyber Monday 2024. I thought it was Black Friday 2024.
It
but we must have
was.
changed it. We changed it. It's an even better deal now. It's 30% off. We got the green ones. We got the white ones. We got a bunch of shirts, a bunch of other good stuff in there. Now's the time to get it. Best deal of the year. This is honestly got truth. This is the lowest any of this stuff has ever been. Buy them up. It's what, John, as a Celtics fan, you're coming down. You're 13-year-old, 15-year-old, 20-year-old John Zannis comes down Christmas morning, runs around the corner, looks at the tree, and he sees a bunch of Celtics hard hats. And it's the best Christmas ever. It's the absolute best Christmas ever. Tosses it on. You can run around like a crazy person all day, running into walls, do whatever you want, whipping gifts around. One of the best things you can get for a Celtics fan. So just something to think about. Plenty of time to order them and get them shipped. Plenty of time for Christmas, Hanukkah. They make good Hanukkah gifts too. Kwanzaa gifts, whatever the holiday is. Boxing Day.
Yeah. Since we're just spinning our wheels here until Noah and Bobby jump on, yeah, I got a bigger, uglier water bottle of the same exact brand. Live with it. This thing's freaking huge.
That
I can
thing's
barely hold.
massive.
I can barely hold it with one hand. I just want
At
you guys
some
to know
point,
that.
that's actually true. At some point, it becomes not like convenient to have it anymore.
I have tendonitis in my elbow from this bottle. Like, it's that legit. It's crazy.
It's a lot of water, assuming that's what you're drinking in there.
Yeah. Anyway, it's a lot of water.
Anyways,
Yeah.
So yeah, that's the deal. Cyber Monday 2024, and we do actually have a couple of items that should hit the merch store prior to Christmas. To give you time.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah, we are gonna mention JB. Damn it, JB's good. He's good all the time. We're gonna talk about Luke and Pritchard. Okay, a little bit. Just let us do it. Okay, let us do it.
Yeah.
I can also talk about it.
We'll get to it.
We
We'll
can
get
talk
to it in the
about
Brownie
Tatum.
Awards segment.
Here's the thing. I'm not as Brown being good is about as remarkable to me as Tatum being bad. Like it's like it happened. Like it's not like a crazy development. Like Tatum had a bad game, Brown had a good game. Like there's superstar players, there's on, there's off. Pritchard is a new thing. It's a new development, like it's a development.
Sure.
It's a thing that's happening that's changing. Brown is always going to be Brown. Tatum's going to be Tatum. Like Pritchard being who he is right now changes a lot about this team. A lot. Like That's the thing is I think we're almost underselling it. And like we keep saying like he's really good. Like it really changes a lot about this team. And I didn't have this on my bingo card at all of like Payton Pritchard being like a top player on this team, not just a nice little spark plug off the bench. It's like it's getting stupid at this point. Like you're kind of counting on 20 points a game now.
I mean, that is crazy. But I mean, the last 4 games, he's amassed that number. It allows guys to get breathers. He allows guys to take that extra.
That's the thing is like this is exactly, Joseph. If he plays like this, like where it's now getting ridiculous, like it's another wrinkle where it's like, again, if I'm the league, I'm like, are you freaking kidding me? Like now I have to account for this too. You know, like there's no break. And that's why tonight I thought was an awesome game. Despite like, I was talking to Bobby at the game. He's like, it's a bit of a snoozer. I love it. I love that they can trot out Walsh and Kornet in the starting lineup. Jason Tatum's first stint with the bench was him, Peterson, Tillman, Pritchard, and Luke. And it's like, sure, and Kata rather. And it's like, why not? We can do that. And they did. They're going blow for blow with another team with this. It's like, it's incredible. So it's a development now. It's like, it makes it ridiculously hard to be. How off, like last year, Jimmy, with the 6 starters, you know, or like if you put like Brown, Tatum, Porzingis, and White as your primary scorers, right? Like 2 guys, and that was White was the big development last year. White all of a sudden being capable of scoring 30 any given night was a new development. It's not what you thought Derek White would do. Like it was like 2 guys can have shit. Tatum had a shit offensive game with 4 rotational players missing, and they won by 20 points, like over a professional NBA team. That's ridiculous. What other team does that? What another team sits 2 starters and 2 key bench players, and they lose by 39 points. Like it's ridiculous that they can do this. It really is beyond like exaggeration. I almost think we're underselling like what a development it is that Pritchard's now entered the chat as like this unstoppable force adding to a championship team. It's scary.
Him up too. They locked him up. He might be the best bargain in basketball by the end of this season.
Yeah.
You know, non-rookie deals. But yeah, I mean,
so that's it. So I don't
want to just repeat everything you just said, but I agree. I mean, it's not fair, to be honest. I mean, it's why the rest of the league is starting to cry about 3-pointers now. It's because the Celtics are too good and too many of the guys hit them. So now they want to change the rules. That's fine, but it's the development of Pritchard. And I've gone back to it a few times, but you just have to tip the hard hat to him, because everything he has, he's earned.
Yep.
Right? I mean, he's never been a guy up until probably now, right? Up until like the last probably couple weeks. He's never been a guy that's really gotten the respect that he's probably deserved. And I'm talking about by the masses, not the diehard Oregon Duck fans and the diehard Celtics fans and the Noahs of the world, but and basketball fans, NBA fans, and him coming up in the ranks. You know, like he was never going to be a guy that was ever going to be considered top of the charts, right? I mean, but he worked his ass off, worked harder than everybody else, and he still does. And that's the thing about him is like, he's not going to lose that, because that he needs to, he understands that he needs to work that hard to be able to get the playing time he's getting and to be able to get the shots that he's getting.
Yeah.
Coaches are eventually that's not going to change. Coaches are eventually going to have to pay a little bit more attention to him. Maybe they make it harder on him. Maybe they're more physical on him. Maybe they prevent him from being just a complete menace out there. And maybe coaches start to actually game plan for him. I think tonight on the broadcast, and maybe it was Scal was saying that like Pritchard was looking over at Coach Spo, just kind of smiling and shaking his head, couldn't believe that he was, being, left open or left unguarded or just not being paid much attention to. Pritchard couldn't believe it. But I think the more these games occur, the less frequently we're going to see Pritchard not getting the attention that he probably deserves.
Yeah, I mean, and now you've got multiple coaches kind of talking about how they have to account for it. So it's getting serious. Anyway, we're going to get Bobby on the show in just a couple of minutes, but we do need to tell you about a couple of our sponsors here. And I'm not ready for it yet. I'm not ready for the sponsors yet. I'm getting there. I'm getting there.
You're not ready, but you just teased it. So
I teased it, but I'm not fully ready
okay,
because I need
that's
some.
fine because you need to know what you're actually reading. That's fair.
I need to know what I'm reading. I don't want to trip on
Maybe
anything.
maybe it's game time.
No, you know what I'm going to start with?
Maybe it's
Just
game time.
It's an oldie but goodie. I'm going to start with HelloFresh.
Huh?
Oh,
Sorry.
that's a real oldie. But we do want to tell you, HelloFresh is back with us, and we loves us some HelloFresh. And the best thing about this, when it comes on the show, we all get our free food boxes. And I have my favorites. I know Bobby likes his fish. Sherrod likes his meatloaf. I always try to get something that's a little bit like different. I like the kind of Tex-Mex options and some stuff that's kind of funky, but my kids can be a little picky. So being able to pick and choose and to customize a lot of your things, I think really is important there with HelloFresh. And that's really what you can do here when you get it. And everybody knows what it is. Farm fresh, pre-portioned ingredients, seasonal recipes delivered to your doorstep. You skip the trips to the grocery store and you just cook at home. It makes home cooking easy and affordable. It is why it is unquestionably America's #1 meal kit. And we know how much better home cooked meals are for you health wise. You want to this is the critical time here, right, Jimmy, between Thanksgiving and Christmas, where it can get away from some people. And so if you want to kind of really customize your diet and eat right, heading into the holiday season here before things get crazy, HelloFresh is a great option for you right now, especially this bridge right now between Thanksgiving and New Year's.
It's going to balance you out because you are still going to have some very, very, very bad nights, bad weekends. You're going to have some long ones. But HelloFresh will be able to balance that out if you go with HelloFresh on the off days.
Yeah. So again, variety of menu options suit all your needs and tastes, fit and wholesome, quick and easy, vegetarian, family friendly, what have you. Customize your meals with protein and veggie swaps, which is important because my kids literally never eat the same thing. None of them. I have to make 3 dinners a night. Don't forget to check out HelloFresh Market for more delicious add-on items to jazz up your weekly deliveries. And so what's the deal here? Free breakfast for life. Go to HelloFresh.com/freegarden. 1 free breakfast item per box while your subscription is active, which means you keep rolling it back. You're going to get free breakfast for life with HelloFresh. Once again, use that code. Go to HelloFresh.com/freegarden and get started with HelloFresh today. Other sponsor we want to quickly tell you about here is Bilt. There it is. Earning points while paying rent right now, and that's what you want to do with Bilt. If you haven't heard of it, you're about to thank me. Earning points on rent is a reality. When you pay your rent through Bilt, you don't even have to check with the landlord to start earning points that you can use towards flights, hotel stays, fitness classes, what have you. Bilt has changed the game by letting renters earn high-value points on rent and around their neighborhood. No cost to join. Bilt points can be transferred to your favorite hotels and airlines, even the ones you haven't heard of. Over 500 airlines, 700,000 hotels and properties around the world. You can redeem your Bilt points towards. Points can also be redeemed towards future rent payments and unique experiences that only Bilt members can access. So again, start
by
earning
the way,
points.
John, rent is due.
It is due. So get after it. Start earning points on rent you're already paying by going to joinbilt.com. That's joinbilt.com/garden. Make sure to use that URL so they know that we sent you here on the Garden Report. Joinbilt.com/garden to start earning points on your rent payments today. We have everybody on the Garden Report on this already. So if you want, check it out. It's definitely worthwhile to start earning points towards other things. We are going to bring on board people. These people.
Speaking of
there they are.
Did you know he was in the works?
All right.
Hi, guys. You're
I
on.
still can't hear it. No, I didn't know.
You're on. Hi.
I can't hear.
We can hear you. We can totally hear you.
We can hear
Okay,
you.
remove. That was fun.
Damn. Did they just not have the headphones plugged in, maybe?
Who knows? We'll get back to them in a little bit. Bobby and Noah, yeah, we love ads, guys. We love them. Of course we love them. That's how we make money.
You know what we also love? Eating,
Who friggin'
drinking,
who?
paying the bills. Sorry for liking to live.
that pays our salaries. We get money.
Oh my
It's
God.
good. Oh my goodness gracious!
Only
Of course we love that.
only if they sign up though.
You guys got to sign up, guys. Help me. I'll shorten that read by 50% if all of you guys sign up, please.
Guys, help us,
Bobby and
help
Noah
me.
are going to have to give us a thumbs up when they're ready to go, so we avoid
they
that
can't
last.
hear you, but they can't hear you to give us the thumbs up.
Yeah.
Oh,
Hear
boy.
that, John?
She
Rent is due.
She just got out of her seat. It's not a good thing. What did Bobby do?
The Twins.
Rent is due. It was actually due
That's
yesterday, but it was Sunday, so you get yourself an extra day. I like to make my landlord wait until I like to make him sweat it out.
Yeah.
But he always wins in the end.
Yeah.
Who's really sweating it out?
Yeah,
Anyways,
everyone in the chat, chill, okay? Bobby and Noah, can we get to you? Yes, that's a nice nod there. I'm gonna go with this shot, and I'm gonna put you guys over there. What's up, guys?
What's up?
We almost did not we almost didn't start the show because it's pointless to have Pritchard conversations and Kornet conversations without you guys. So it's silly because that's the night we're having tonight. But we did spend an ungodly amount of time on Pritchard already, and I'll tell you where we're going with this conversation. Noah, we've run out of places to go, right? We've already sixth man of the year is in the bag already. It's stupid. Count the votes are in. I don't even think there's going to be much of a contest there. All-Star, maybe down the road. It's not happening this year. We don't need to talk about that. It's in the future. We have to find a new way to frame the Payton Pritchard conversation in terms of the impact here. And so where I was going, and again, yes, sometimes I'm prone to hyperbole, and that's all right, is I'm starting to wonder, is he your best scorer? Do you want the ball in his hands more? Like, what more can we get out of him? But I think while that might be a bit going overboard, I do think it's fair to say that, like, you can't overreact enough to it, because his ascension, or being the guy that he is right now for this team at this moment, has completely changed the entire dynamic of the season. It really has. And I don't think that that's an exaggeration. It's a different team. It's like adding an all-star caliber player that didn't exist before. And it's really, I mean, we talked about last year, they were crushing teams when two stars would have off nights or sit. Now you have to contend with another person in here. And look at tonight. You're missing 4 rotational players, starters. Granted, the Heat are short too, and you just bury these guys. And it wasn't even close. You just expect to win. And a lot of that has to do with the contributions of Pritchard, who could just come in and do what he does and what he did again tonight.
Yeah, and you're able to dominate through your lineups at that point. Pritchard's obviously been one of the better plus-minus guys this year. So they want to keep him on the bench. Obviously, they've had a couple situations here where maybe you could slide him into a starter. Obviously, Springer and Davison not being super reliable options behind him doesn't help with being able to slide him up. So yesterday's a day with White out, and however long White could have missed there where he becomes a starter for this team. But from that 6-man perspective, it's good for him because he's going to come off the bench all year. He's going to have the ball in his hands often in those minutes. And now when you do shift him into more key minutes, like you talk about there, John, he does seem to have the power, the ability, if he feels it out, to be able to take more shots, maybe take a difficult shot for himself. Obviously, that one late in Cleveland where he's posting up, a good example late in a game of, maybe in the past you're passing out of there to the perimeter, one of the Jays or something like that. So he definitely feels empowered. Mazzulla said again after the game, guys are empowering him. Guys want him to shoot a lot. Guys want him to be a big part of this thing. And I was actually looking forward to, White obviously came back here tonight, how it would have looked with Pritchard in a primary role in, one of the biggest scoring, shooting, facilitating roles on this team. He was almost playing like White last night. 2-man game with Tatum, big shot down the stretch. Just the way he approached that game yesterday was much like White, and then tonight sliding back into his own role. And that's another impressive layer to this, Noah, is he's going back and forth between a bunch of different roles, like old Pritchard, where he's just, more of like a catch-and-shoot guy, newer Pritchard, where he's creating offense for himself and others. And he's handled them all with unbelievable consistency. I mean, it's the story of the year at this point, the season he's having here for the Celtics.
Yeah, definitely. And John, I agree with you. I feel like it's almost hard to find like what to say about this. And we were just talking about a post game because you got to get your Pritchard quote from Joe after every game, it feels like, but it's also like, how many times can you ask Joe about how great Pritchard's playing? So we were just talking about that. But to me, what really stands out is that right now he's in a really good shooting stretch, and it's not going to always be like this. I think he's been shooting like, what was it, 55% over his last.
Yes, it is.
43 from 3.
Yeah, so it's not sustainable in the long term. He's not going to be always this hot.
Why not? Maybe this is where it starts, but maybe it starts.
Well, when you're playing 30 minutes, like yesterday, slow start, and you work your way out of it, and he ends up having a pretty good
that's
night.
exactly what I was going to say. I feel like what we're learning about him is that it doesn't matter. Even if the shot is not as hot as it has been of late, like it's not just the 3-point shooting. It's literally everything. He's just an all-around player. And I think last year actually served him really well because there were moments last year where his shot was just completely gone. And Joe said, like, I still have faith in him. I still have trust in him. And he's still going to be on the floor because he impacts winning in all these other ways. Now we're seeing when it's all working together. I don't know if it's an exaggeration to say he's one of your best scorers. I wouldn't say he's your best scorer, but he's certainly, in certain situations, I said this, I think, last show, but when a play is broken down the stretch, like late shot clock, a lot of guys on this team don't have a very good shooting percentage, and we can find those stats later, but Pritchard, I would trust with the ball down the stretch, like to force something, because he's just so crafty. So maybe it's not like don't make him one of your primary scoring options, but when a play is broken, like identifying where he is and turning to him. I mean, we've seen that. That's the end of quarter thing, but
Don't
on a
look
bigger
behind you.
level.
Don't look behind you.
We've mentioned John too. Yesterday, a good friend of the show, Eric Weiss, came in the chat and was like, that 3-point attempt rate for him is going down. So it's not just him hitting a ton of threes. To start the year, he was taking 70% of his shots from 3. And now you're starting to see him get in between. You're starting to see him score around the basket more. And that efficiency is still sustaining. And those are obviously difficult areas for him at his size to be able to be efficient. And he's still doing it. And Joe has said like 3-4 times in recent weeks, 3-level scoring.
He loves that, yeah.
They believe in him taking mid-rangers. They believe in him finishing around the rim as well as the threes there. So it's not just a scorching 3-point stretch either. It's amazing. I mean, he obviously took the offseason and
Every
the
offseason,
preparation
probably.
to another level this year. And the work started early. He got back probably earlier than any.
But this is a whole new guy, John, compared to the past. Like last year, Noah's mentioned it before, huge slump to start the year, hot stretch.
There we
It
go.
goes up and down. It's just nonstop now, the offense he's pouring. We're 20 games into the year, and he's giving you 15 points a game, 20 per 36. This just seems sustainable in a way that you wouldn't have imagined.
Oh, that's the thing.
On Pritchard.
Go ahead.
Oh, no, I was going to say the last thing is teams are going to start overreacting to him because he's
It's
now.
hard to, though, when Brown and Tatum
But
and
they're
other
going
guys
to
are out
they're going
there.
to have to start because when you look at the advanced numbers this year, like he's doing a lot of damage, and so I think they're going to react to him a little bit more than they have so far, which is already more than certainly earlier in the season, and that's just going to open up everything for this team to have another guy now that they're, because you already have to worry about Derek White. He's already established himself as somebody that you can't just leave. We know that by now. You got 2 all-stars. It's like it's opening things up so that if you're that other guy, if you're Horford or whoever else is in that role, like you're literally being ignored because
Jaylen at times too, John. We've seen that guys veer off Jaylen and try to experiment with that.
And thanks for all the TV professionals in the chat. Yeah, we did have some audio issues. We fixed it, but thanks for bearing with us there.
Yeah, they just needed to plug it in. You needed to plug it in just a little bit further.
Yeah, no, it's all good.
It makes me think too, John.
What were you saying regarding Jaylen, Bobby? I'm sorry.
Well,
I'm sorry.
guys,
Go ahead.
more teams are going to try to play off Jaylen. Obviously, Horford's a guy teams are going to play off. So there will be more attention paid to Pritchard to some degree there. And yesterday, obviously, you were mentioning it, John. Tatum saw maybe as much single coverage on the perimeter as we've seen from defenses this year. And Pritchard's out there pretty much that whole game with him. So that probably plays into it too. Like Brown, Tatum, all these guys are going to start to see more single coverage when Pritchard's out there.
Yeah, I mean, I wonder whether that's if that's a byproduct of Pritchard playing the way he's playing, or whether teams have wised up a little bit and said it's almost to pick your poison. I think back on like those old when LeBron was the solo. Really the only thing that Cleveland had going in his first Cleveland stint. And it was like, I guess you can let LeBron get 45 points. I don't want him just whipping the ball around and getting other people involved. So we're just gonna have to take it sometimes. Like with Tatum, I don't think the alternative is way worse than him cooking a bad defender. If he's able to move the ball around to all of these shooters, that's a faster, almost more certain death. If you're gonna gamble, I'd rather gamble that you could force Tatum into bad shots and play him straight up. And yeah, you're gonna bring help when he gets into the paint. You're gonna have a big step up and try to, help a little bit of help there, but you're not blitzing him at the point of attack. That's how I would have to defend this team. And then you have a night like last night where a guy like Garland does better than you would expect in that one-on-one matchup, actually holds up fine. And yeah, you get a few of those low percentage, shots that he can hit, but I'd rather have that than the alternative, which is, Pritchard, Hauser, Brown, White, whatever it is, just, being White of Porzingis now that he's back. So, it's interesting now that you have the fully healthy team, if that's going to change how teams have to play the Celtics now. Interesting thing to see going forward. Weird now because of obviously the guys resting. Yeah.
And on the Tatum point, I don't know how much you've talked about his night, John, yet. The switching's hurting him right now, and it's a good switching team in Miami, even with the guys that were playing tonight. It's a good switching team in Cleveland that was super aggressive in doing it. So he's in a little bit of a lull right now, these last two games here. Rare from what we've seen him this season. And, they're still able to sustain through it in large part because Pritchard can carry the offense for those stretches, and they've had to combine more of their minutes here. So it'll be interesting to see how that impacts Tatum here, too, because Pritchard obviously looked comfortable taking on the offense over the last two games, but Tatum was kind of in and out of it. I don't know what was going on with Tatum here in this one. Gary was asking Joe about fatigue and some other stuff there, and obviously he might have been lined up for a rest night here, but not his two best nights of the season.
I have a question. What happens if Pritchard's just this good? What's this do to the crunch time rotations? We got Drew Holiday still. Multi NBA champion, Olympian, obviously considered still one of the best defenders in the NBA, but there's only 5 spots out in the court at the same time, Bobby and Noah. Is it a good problem to have? Is it just simply that, or is Joe going to have some interesting calls he's going to have to make? Not now, it's the regular season, but at some point, these games are going to really, really matter, and someone's going to be watching in a crunch time situation.
We've already seen it on a granular level. There was the Indiana game. I think Pritchard closed that game out. Drew Holiday was on the bench. I don't know, I know that you have 2 starting guards that, considering their resumes, their pedigrees, they're as ego-less as it gets. So I do think that if the game calls for benching Derek White or Drew Holiday because Pritchard's going off and he has the hot hand and he's not a liability on the defensive end.
Or can you go small?
They would do it. Yeah, maybe you do go small sometimes. But it also just gives you the assurance that, right now you have 3 guards that you feel really comfortable and you would probably want to finish with. And so if somebody is dealing with something or somebody's out for a series or, these things, they've been really healthy of late. I don't want to put out bad energy, but those are realities too, that people can get injured. And that's what we're seeing around the league. Very few teams have a backup star guard to back up one of their starting guards. that's just not the reality of what the team's depth looks like. So that's another part of it.
Yeah, it's similar to more for
Bobby, real quick.
In a way, right?
Sorry, Bobby.
They got to trade off that a little bit when they're both healthy.
Not to cut you off, but John, did you want to go to Jaylen since he's?
Yeah, we're gonna pop into Jaylen real quick and hear what he has to say. Jaylen Brown, also a terrific game tonight for him. 29 points. Here's Jaylen at the podium.
I thought even Baylor came in, made plays.
Hold on, we're trying to get him up there.
You just gotta be ready.
I can hear him. I can't see him. Can you see him?
Professionals.
No.
And that's what.
He's not it's glitching out. It won't pop onto the stage. I'm going to try one more time, see if we can get Jaylen is live right now. And
try a different shot.
Go.
To becoming a.
No, it won't pop onto the stage. I don't know why that is.
A different shot. Try a different shot.
It's not a shot. It's not my shot. It's a live feed of the press conference coming into here.
Well, it's a great connector for us, and defensively he uses his size well.
Different shot.
So tonight was an example of that. He was able to get
you meant
blocks.
Did you mean layout?
Well. I think we're
I get it.
an even better team as well.
Jaylen, you talked about those guys.
It's one
staying
shot,
ready and how
Jimmy.
important that is to winning.
You meant layout.
You mentioned, like some of those lineups you guys haven't had the chance to play with.
We were in the fourth shot.
Like in practice,
yeah.
be able to be ready and like. I mean, obviously, you guys just looked seamless out there, like with lineups you've never played with. What's the preparation that goes into that?
There's a bunch of stay-ready groups that go on behind the scenes where guys who don't play as much minutes to always just getting reps, just staying ready, going over reads.
Staying ready.
Always constantly staying involved in, how the game and how the season is going and to be ready whenever their name is to be called. So it's tough to do as a professional sometimes in January, back-to-back. Sometimes guys can, throughout the year, check out. But when you have guys that are hungry and come in and add to winning, it just shows where you're at as a team and where you're at as an organization. I think we developed guys really well. And tonight was an example of that. I thought we had some guys step in and make some good contributions.
Jaylen, Joe credited you after the game. He said he thought what you did to kind of prepare to play in tonight's game was important, and just kind of the tone it sets for the team and the locker room to show that even when things aren't maybe great, you're not feeling great, that you're going to be out there. What was the process like preparing for this game, and is that something you think about, kind of the tone it sets whether you play or don't?
Yeah, it's a journey. It's a long season, and we are human beings. Guys get sick, don't feel well. Stuff can be going on. Whatever the case is, I try to always be there as a leader of our group to make myself available. And tonight, trying to miss as little as games as possible is important for just our group in general health. So I think just even when you're not feeling well, to show that you're still available, I think kind of just sets a tone for your team to be, to have the same type of mindset. These games matter, even though we're in December and, we want to play into late June. These games matter. So I just had to push through it.
Jaylen, kind of related to that, but not being sick, when you wake up, let's say from a back-to-back, and your legs are dead, and you're like, Jaylen, I ain't got it tonight. Like, how do you kind of keep going? Jason was kind of managing the night. I mean, he played 38 minutes last night. How do you kind of just keep pushing, knowing that there's going to be nights like this where you have a back-to-back, coming off travel, things, the NBA life?
It's a part of the journey. Back-to-backs it's not like just the Celtics got to play them. Everybody in the whole league is no different. So I think we just had a mindset, or try to have a mindset that, we come out and play good basketball, put our best foot forward, whoever's out there as a team. That's some of those moments are like some of the adversity. Back-to-backs are tough to get your body, your mind, everything ready, depending on the flights, et cetera, the injuries. But as you are looking to do something special, those are the moments you got to kind of like accept. It's hard for teams to be great if, some of their best players never play back-to-backs.
There you have it. Jimmy Toscano, everybody.
Facts, man.
So, nothing. He's there. So what was the point of that line of questioning? What were we talking about?
Oh,
what was that even about?
Done. What'd you say?
Huh? You got me now?
Yep.
What was the point of, what were we talking about there? Playing back-to-backs?
Yeah, Brown
is he
today, Tatum listed. Those guys looked like they
Is
were
he taking a shot at
taking
a shot at the Sixers there?
Little Embiid shot.
Maybe.
I think just the story of this game was the fact that like all of the rotation was questionable effectively. And then, most of the main guys ended up playing, Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Derek White. Derek White, I mean, literally couldn't finish a game 3 days ago, and he's playing, full game today.
How good he looked.
Yeah, and so I think maybe Gary was getting at, but what about these two stars, Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown in particular, is really they really hate to miss games. They have such a track record of it. It's probably what separates them the most from other stars in the league. Not their skill set, but actually their availability and dependability. If you just look at the last 7 years, it's been pretty remarkable.
Yeah, and
I think Tatum needs to miss more games. I think Tatum refuses to, and it's almost you want him to. Like, no, you don't normally want your stars to sit out. Tatum's the one guy where it's like, are you tired? Like, just take a break. It's
So
okay. Like,
Yeah, I don't know where to go with that one because he's obviously they list him on the report and he's lined up to miss this one. It looks like, is that to make him miss a game later this week, or did he fight back and want to play? Because you almost feeling like it's inevitable he'll miss this game, and then he plays, and then it's like, oh, he's playing, but he's not giving you the full Tatum effect / effort. I mean, it definitely looked like, whether it was fatigue or just, you know, how seriously he took this one or whatever it was. And not that they'd be better without him, but it's like, all right, if this is going to have him play better later in the week or just throughout the course of the season, John, you're right. He hasn't taken a day off yet this season. Played 38 minutes last night. Didn't look his best even in that game. So, you know, it's tough, right? Brad's talked about it. We beg him. We want him to. He doesn't want to do it. So there's only so much you can do. But he probably needed to take this game off. I don't think there's any doubt about that.
I don't know if I agree with that because at the end of the day, he's in his athletic prime. He's playing an NBA schedule. He doesn't have a major injury that's forcing him out, or else that would be a different conversation. But why not play if he's healthy and available to play? If he's not playing well, or if he's not playing with maximum effort, that's a different conversation. I think that's like, why is my star player not playing with maximum effort? Like, that's a quality thing. But yeah, I don't know that I would say like he was due for a rest day. I mean, it's still really early in the season. Like, this is against a decent team. It's not like they were playing like the worst team in the league. Miami's been good matchups over the years. Like, I think he should have played in this game.
I'm like despite my boomer roots, I'm like I'm not one of those anti-load management guys. I'd be giving stars 10 games off, no question about it. Every 5, 6, 7 games, I'd be resting my best players. Whether or not like it scientifically or medically actually makes that big a difference, just to be fresher, I'd be looking for opportunities. Maybe not that many, but I'd be looking for Tatum to just sit 7, 8 games this year.
Toughest game of the week, right? Back to back with travel.
The back-to-backs, I think it's a no-brainer, but I understand stepping up when other people are out with legitimate reasons for sure, because you don't want to leave your team completely in the lurch, no doubt about it. I just have no problem building in rest for these guys, and I think when you have a team as deep as the Celtics, I think it's a mistake not to. So that's my opinion on it. But you're right, Noah. Yeah. He might not need it. Like he is an athlete. He's in his athletic prime. It may not actually impact him, in a negative way, playing all of these minutes and playing all of these games. And he's gone on record saying, I want to play all of them. I don't really want to be out. So he wants to play. I just think sometimes you might be able to save him from himself, John, or just take him out of it. Hey, don't think about having to play tonight, even if it's not physical. It's okay. Just step away from basketball for we play lots and lots of basketball. It's okay not to play tonight.
Right.
I don't think that's the worst thing. There's a burnout factor too.
I don't know. Yeah, and I don't know if he's necessarily doing this, but this did look like a game where it's like you're playing, you're out there, your presence is nice, but you're sort of.
You didn't need to play the fourth quarter.
Yeah,
he didn't, but he actually played a decent fourth quarter, I guess. So I mean,
he did, but he didn't need to play at all.
No, he didn't. But
I will say that the one negative effect of this is that I love seeing the younger guys get reps. I think it's so valuable for them and their development, and it's fun, and it gives us something new to think and talk about. So sometimes I wish he sat out just to open those opportunities. Tonight, I think we had enough absences where we still got to see everybody. But there's Jeff Teague did a podcast episode on this once. He was talking about when he was on the Celtics, he was always looking for minutes, and then Tatum would roll both of his ankles and come in and be like,
well, that's the worst, right?
And Jeff Teague would be like, okay, this is my opportunity to play, and then Tatum would be like, nah, I'm good, like I'm playing tonight, and Jeff would be, he has a really funny show, but he would just be like, this sucks, I want to play.
And I think we even saw that at one point earlier this season, John, where he rolls an ankle. Remember the flagrant foul against Milwaukee, and it's like, ooh, that didn't look good, and then the next game he's right out there and not looking quite like himself, but still just playing through it. And is that a net positive, John, because he's so important and he's takes so much pressure off the other guys, and it sets an example? Or are you out there and you're limited, or you're tired, or you're not fully in it, and that takes away from it? Because that's how I looked at this game for him. He just didn't look like Tatum. Would it have been better if he wasn't out there? Probably not, but it might have been better for him in the long term here, especially this week. You have 5 games in 7 days.
Yeah, it's fine. But I mean, if that's your biggest problem, trying to get your best player a little bit of rest here and there, it's really not. I mean, we're naturally kind of, just stretching here, looking for something. It's not. But we have not gotten into the Luke Kornet conversation, which we not only promised to do, we should do, because he was
absolutely
really, again, just an element of Luke's game you don't see on display to that effect. And he was spectacular tonight. So we're going to let Bobby, run with this one as long as he wants. But first off, we do want to tell you Prize Picks. Do I have where's my B-roll?
Prize Picks.
Jimmy, you know about Prize Picks. Jimmy, start telling him about it.
Well, I mean, really, what else is there really to say, John? I mean, it speaks for itself. I'll tell you what.
All right, I got it.
You gotta say something.
It's the number one. You got to say something. It's the number one daily fantasy sports app and the official partner of the CLNS Media Network. Pick more, pick less. It is that easy. Pick at least 2 of your favorite players and really any stats available to you and win up to 100 times your money. It's super fun. There's a lot of great deals you can get in on. Taco Tuesday, check that out. Freaky Friday. Is it Freaky Friday? I don't know. Yeah, it's tomorrow. There's a lot of cool features on there, but also if you are a new user, you should check it out. All you have to do is download the app and put in that code CLNS for all new users. You play 5. There's the deal. It is Flex Friday, not Freaky Friday. Put in play 5. You get 50 in your account.
Shout out Lindsay Lohan, though.
Shout out Lindsay Lohan.
She looks good right now.
Come on,
Sorry.
Jimmy.
Sorry. Back to the ad.
50 in your account right away. You do not even have to win. So go ahead, check it in, get in on the action today with Game Time. Super fun, very easy to use, very intuitive app. You want to get down, and there's that code again, CLNS. Play 5, get 50 instantly for America's #1 fantasy sports app. We also want to tell you about Game Time. Full slate of Celtics games. If you want to get in and check them out, Game Time might be the place for you. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code CLNS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply. And as we said, you got to wait a little bit to check out the Patriots bye week and a couple of road games. But the Drake May show is real, and you've only got a couple more shots to see that, so I'd check that out as well. Also, a ton of concerts around this time of year. It's not just sports. Download the Game Time app. You create an account, use the code CLNS for $20 off your first purchase. Again, terms do apply. All-in pricing, so you know what you're in for without any hidden fees. Panoramic views from your seat, so you know exactly what it looks like and what it's going to look like when you enter the arena. Terrific features, again, super easy to use, and your ticket to get into the games right now. There's that code once more, CLNS, $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply. Guys, we're back, and you can't not talk about Luke, right? But before we talk about Luke, we're gonna hear from Payton Pritchard talking about his game.
Just was. They like to do a lot of off-ball movements, stuff like that, so we're just physical, trying to blow up some of their actions. And, as long as we're making them hit tough contested threes and stuff like that, then we'll live with that. Just be confident. Don't second-guess yourself. Go out there and leave it all out on the floor. But I always tell people, as long as you're getting your workouts in and doing the little things, then, you should be confident for your moment. If you're not handling your stuff before the games and stuff like that, then that might be a problem. So if you're taking care of the rest, you should be all right on the court. It could be a fill, but obviously if I break the defense down and there's 2 on the ball, and it don't matter if he's missed 5 in a row, I'm gonna make that pass because law of averages is he's probably gonna hit the next one. So I like the quote what Joe said. He said he live by principle, not by feeling. So that's kind of how you should play the game too. So just make the right play every time and. Don't judge it off of how other people are playing or how yourself is playing. Just right decisions.
He said that the other day, right? The feeling.
A couple weeks ago, yeah. Jack asked him a question.
Yep. One of the Joe-isms. Anyway, we've done a lot on Pritchard, so we're not going to keep going there. I did want to talk about Luke and what happened, Bobby. Have you seen that side of him? And don't say yes.
Yes. This is what he does. I've said it a million times. He comes out. We saw it in the preseason, right? He plays with the starters. He's got good rhythm, chemistry with those guys. You can find him on the roll early, which they did often to start this game. And then defensively, when you can play drop with him, he's so dynamic out there. And he made it tough on Bam tonight. Bam had a terrible game, and Kornet influenced that here. And
terrible.
Obviously a million blocks. So this is what he does. Drop the defense. If you can play that against a team, it's perfect. I'm glad they started him tonight. I wasn't sure if they were gonna, because it's obviously been a big run of Keita starts, and you like him playing with Kornet, that is, playing with Hauser and Pritchard and some of those guys off the bench. So I was pleasantly surprised they went with him in this one. He was obviously great last night too. I thought he had an underrated game. I didn't even go too far into it last night because I just wanted to let it speak for itself. And this one, you got to say a little something, because when he plays bad, the chat's freaking out. Everyone says he stinks. But then you remember he's your third center. Maybe this year is your fourth center because of Keita's emergence here.
We don't like that.
But who has a fourth center like this? This is ridiculous what you can get from him. I mean, come on. 6 blocks, all that rolling leverage, the playmaking and stuff. And, Joe praised him. I'm sure you guys heard it, the physicality when he plays at this level. We're a different team. But this is the stuff they want from their center, and he's so good at it. So I say that all the time. Like, it's not even about the stats or the big, outbursts in scoring or the uptick in blocks in this game. He just does so many things right out there. He's so positionally sound. He's helping guys out on offense with the screening. Defensively, he's taking away the rim from the other team. It's just such a luxury. And he's such a great player. I get such a joy out of watching his game. He's your third center.
I almost feel like I should Wait, what? I almost feel like I should yield my minutes to Bobby. So if you have
to the senator from Syracuse.
Yeah, I'll donate mine.
And think about it.
To the gentleman from Peabody.
And think about it. He's lost a lot of minutes this year to Keita. Rightfully so. Keita outplayed him through that stretch, and I think there's a lot more upside to invest in there. But now, the matchup calls for you to go back to Luke, and he's able to give you this in a spot start. Again, it's such a luxury, this guy here. And just such a great development story, and obviously in this matchup, I felt like a little bit of a game breaker. Because what was the one thing you were worried about in this game, John, if you were going to look at the Heat?
Bam!
And he took him away.
And Bam's had a pretty tough season. So I don't want to say it was just Luke, but yeah, Luke had a phenomenal game.
The Olympics broke him, huh? I mean, he's not. What happened? What's happened?
Some of the Miami guys don't know what's going on there.
I think some of
weird,
it is
right?
also just. Some of it is probably just the lack of, the changes around him have probably made him more of a pressure point. But yeah, he's down to like 42% shooting this season, which is kind of wild for somebody with his shot profile. I was just going to add, you got to give Luke so much credit for how he really seems to not be shaken at all when he falls out of the rotation. I know that's kind of been the Celtics' MO, but he has gone through multiple stretches already this season where he's just out of the rotation for a few games. And like everybody else, like the stay ready thing, he really embodies that probably more than anybody, where when you need him, all of a sudden he's a spot start and he just excels in that role, and it's like you wouldn't even know that he missed, he didn't play for a few weeks or whatnot. And he had a couple minutes last game, but it feels like he can just be completely out of the rotation, and then you need 30 minutes from him and he'll be able to deliver because he's just so engaged. I don't think he worries about it. I don't think he gets upset about it. And I think everybody gets credit for that mindset, but he probably embodies that more than anybody on this roster.
Nice Kornet contest tonight too against Hawkes there.
6 blocks. Yeah. Is that what we ended up?
On a night with 6 blocks? We're gonna talk about the one Kornet contest. Let's talk about the actual
basically
stuff.
7 blocks.
Yeah.
Bobby, come on though. Let's be real. Let's be real quickly. I'll let Jimmy have his thing because we've all landed in a good place with Luke, so we're not battling here. This is not an adversarial conversation, right? We all value what Luke can do, especially in these spot start moments, and the fact that he's a cheery chipper guy when he goes to the bench and he could sit out 6 straight games and it doesn't change anything, and he's absolutely ready when his number is called. I'm just simply saying this type of a defensive presence out there blocking shots like this is in such a way that like he looked different. He looked different. I mean, about him. There was one, I was there. I had a really good vantage point from where I was. There was a couple times where he didn't get it. He was mad at himself. Like he was really aggressively going after blocks. It was like a side of him you just haven't really seen at this level. Of course, he's 7'2". He's going to block a shot or two, but he was really, really aggressively going after shots. He was really like a presence there tonight, which is something he hasn't been, not on a consistent basis.
Yeah, and they've changed their defense since Porzingis came back. You're able to drop back more now if you're him.
Yeah.
Remember, I sent you guys that chart earlier in the year, John, where they were showing the centers who guards the most % of the time to start this year, and Keita was number 1. Luke and Al are right there behind him. So he was switching a ton onto the perimeter at the beginning of this year. They were going to some more looks that were non-drop and putting him in tough positions on the perimeter, and I thought he handled it decently, but that's obviously not his game, right? You want him dropping back, you want him protecting the rim, you want him being able to just kind of stonewall a guy like Bam inside there. So I think now that Porzingis is back, they're getting back to playing their brand of defense a little bit. I looked it up going into this game. Obviously, I was sounding the alarm on rim protection to begin this year big time, but they've gotten that down from 65% and not including tonight, 60%, and I'm sure it went even lower with the kind of night Bam and some of those other guys had inside there. And yeah, missed layups, missed opportunities for Miami in this game. They were just dreadful, like so bad. I haven't seen that team look this bad in a decade maybe. So I don't know what's going on there, but certainly Kornet contested a ton of stuff, made stuff difficult. But I like the fact that now Porzingis is back and they have those double big combinations and just more versatility in there, that they're going to go back to playing their normal style of defense and not trying to, take away threes too aggressively and leave the rim wide open.
Yeah, shout out to Dirk here. Thank you for the super chat, and I think that this is a really good comment that he put on the board here. Luke is blissfully aware he's playing in the NBA, loves it, shares that love, does the things with pleasure.
He
and
has
I think
a joy
that's
to his game.
He's one of those guys. I think you see this in hockey players a lot. They're like, I can't believe I'm doing this for a living.
Yeah.
Like Luke is like, I can't believe I get to keep doing this. Like he does view it almost like he's kind of blessed and he's happy to be there. And, not saying he doesn't also want to play, because when he does, he gives it maximum effort. But like, he really just has that vibe all the time. It is a joy.
Yeah, no, and he told me a story about that last year or 2 years ago now, where like early in his career, he's on the Knicks and the Bulls and stuff, and like you start playing bad or you fall out of the rotation, you get hurt or something, and you're beating yourself up over that, or you're like just down. And when he got to Maine that year, where he spent the full season up there, it was like, I'm just going to enjoy this. Like, I'm going to enjoy playing with these guys. I'm just going to enjoy playing basketball. And if I ever end up back in the league, great. If I don't, like, I'm just going to make the most of this experience here. And that's carried over now to his second Boston stint, where he's just, if he plays bad, oh well. If he plays great, like, you take that in stride too. So he's not putting too much of, like, he's talked about his, like, own, personal self-worth and how well he's playing. And I think that kind of shows itself. Like, he's not taking himself too seriously. Remember that Indy game a couple years ago? He's like pumping his fist because he made a free throw. So I think that's part of what's allowed him to play so good, is he hasn't put pressure on himself to be amazing or make or break, or like, oh, I lost my rotation spot. So it shows.
Okay, that's Luke Kornet, correspondent Bobby Manning. Guys, what else do you want to talk about tonight?
I think we should talk about Drew Peterson at one point.
Yeah,
I think so
What do you
too.
think of that thing, John?
Swagger. What?
What do you think about him coming out of nowhere to play last night?
Again, we talked about it, and the first thing you said was, why not Shireman? I think we, every time we see Shireman play at this level, we kind of get an idea why. He looks like if he's going to be ready, he's not ready yet. He didn't embarrass himself tonight. He's just not ready to play impactful minutes here. Doesn't mean you couldn't throw him in for a few here or there, but I don't know. They obviously see something there that they like. And Peterson, like, I thought he played with a little bit of, he played with a little swagger tonight. I loved it. I loved it.
That blew my mind last night. And obviously I didn't like the decision at first, but when you saw his readiness to shoot, his assertiveness on his shot, and how comfortably he handled the ball. Because a lot of guys in that situation, when they're put into that spot, will be super tentative. And we've seen it with Walsh, I feel like, more than anyone. They don't want to shoot, or they're just kind of standing out there, and the other team ignores them. Peterson was so involved yesterday early and often in that game that the Cavs couldn't ignore him. And tonight, similarly, he's putting up shots. He's putting up, like, aggressive shots inside. He's getting in on the glass. It blew my mind how ready he was for that moment, but it makes sense because he's been here for about a year now.
Yeah, and what is wild, he played 30 total NBA minutes before yesterday, but in this back-to-back, he's played 51 NBA minutes. So literally twice his total career output in a 36-hour span here. And he doesn't look like it. He really didn't look like it. And I asked Joe about it post-game, and he was like surprised to hear the 30 minutes thing, because I don't think he even realized. I've been trying to figure out what separates him from the pack. Why him over these last 2 days from Baylor, from Jaden Springer, who's on the roster full time and is, making $4 million a year, and like, what is it about his skill set that Joe likes? Because frankly, like watching him in Maine, he hasn't separated himself from the pack the way that like a JD Davison has separated himself.
I do like the way he
environment.
played up there, though. The numbers weren't great, but he was aggressive, and I think that's what it was,
Yeah.
right? He wasn't just going to stand out there and sit in the corner and pass up shots. He was going to take advantage of whatever looks he got, and he did that here.
But I think what Joe said, and I take everything in a on the record post-game presser with a grain of salt, but what he said is the defense is what stood out to him, and specifically that guys are exploiting, guys think that they can exploit him and they expect him to not be good on defense. He mentioned Sam Hauser, and that he's actually pretty good, and that's what stood out to me last night, was that he obviously wasn't perfect defensively. Nobody is, and certainly a guy who's never played in the NBA before is not going to be, but he was pretty impressive for it being this early in his career, and some of the matchups that he took on, Darius Garland, Donovan Mitchell at points, and I think that's really what they see right now from him, whereas I don't know that Baylor Scheierman has that defensive abilities at this point. I don't know if he will have it, but that's the main thing. So next time I go up to Maine, I'm going to really watch Drew on defense and Baylor on defense and just see how much of that is translatable, because I do think that's what stood out so far to the staff, plus the fact, and we talked about this last night's show, but plus the fact that he just has been here with the organization for a year now. It was last December that he signed this two-way, and I don't think fans really cared when he re-signed for another two-way, but you don't keep a guy on a second two-way if you don't see something in him, and so this run was going to happen, and now I'm starting to think, is there a chance this contract eventually gets converted? I don't know. If they really like something about in him, they still have a 15 spot, they still have guys that seem to be below him in the rotation that aren't fully guaranteed deals. And to your point, that last unit down the stretch, nobody wanted to shoot. Xavier Tillman was passing up threes. Jordan Wallace was passing up shots, and he's confident. He's confident, and I think he plays pretty empowered.
And you guys kept making fun of me, John, when I said Lonnie, would benefit from some time in Maine to get used to the things that they need to do here, the things that they expect guys to do. But this is why, right? This guy spends a commensurate amount of time up there, whether it's how they contest shots, whether it's how they approach the offensive board.
Whether it's how he hit his two three-pointers.
There's things they do on both ends of the floor, John, Jimmy, where if guys aren't going to do
it's
that,
not the same,
and that's why Shireman's
one guy's in his 7th NBA season. He knows how to play NBA basketball. You don't trade
but
for 7
how to play Celtics basketball.
It doesn't matter if the Celtics if the Celtics acquired a guy at the trade deadline and he's a 7-year veteran,
so who's better, you think, John, Shireman or Peterson?
It's way too early on Shireman. All I'm saying is, right now, you can't compare to the Lonnie Walker situation. He's a professional basketball player. If you trade for a 6-year veteran in the middle of the year, you bring him in. Of course, it's going to take a little while to get it. It would take a while to get it if you were friggin' an all-star and you joined this team. That's understandable, but you're not sending a 6-year veteran to Maine to learn Celtics basketball. I don't think Baylor Shireman's learning Celtics basketball in Maine. He's just playing. He's just getting
there.
He's just getting to play basketball in Maine. Like, he just gets to play. He's not playing with these guys. So, again, Peterson has the benefit of having been around for a bit and at least soaking some of it in through Joe Mazzulla or through the program, where Shireman doesn't. He's very, very, very early in that. So, I mean, again, I don't think it's comparable to the Lonnie Walker situation, but I understand why he'd have an edge over someone like Baylor Shireman.
Look what you did, Bobby.
I disagree with the concept that he's not playing Celtics basketball in Maine, though, because this is like the whole premise. And I know, like, I feel like I'm obsessed with Maine. Like, I've written about it so much, I've talked about it so much. I feel like I don't want to lean into it too hard. But the reality is that half the guys right now that we saw play tonight had a really significant stint in Maine. And I don't know about other teams' developmental programs. Some teams are super, connected. You asked Eric Spoelstra about it pregame, and it seems like Miami might be one of those teams. But they're literally conversing every single day. They're using the same terminology. They're running the same plays. They're playing guys in the same roles that they're going to be playing in Boston rather than the roles that they could be dominating the G League competition. I don't think it's just a place where you get extra reps. I think part of this team's success, and guys like Luke Kornet, Sam Hauser, Nimish Keita, they all embody that, is this is like Celtics light in Maine. And sometimes it makes for a confusing watch because you're wondering, why is your top draft pick, Jordan Walsh, taking 6 shots in a game where there's other guys on the floor that have nothing to do with this organization long term that are scoring 25 points, and it's because they're prepping him for this role. And again, I don't know if every team does it, but I really do think that they have a very specific structure in place, and they have a very specific translation between the two franchises that maybe isn't obvious to people. But as we've dug into it, covering this team, it's really stood out. It's been one of the most interesting storylines covering this franchise.
Yeah, and I
Again,
think
the two
obviously he wouldn't have-
things, Noah, I think in this case are mutually exclusive. You can learn to play Celtics basketball as a player who goes to Maine because chances are you're still in year 1 or year 2 of your overall NBA development, and you're learning a lot of things. And you could be a 6 or 7 year veteran and not benefit a lick from going to Maine, because that's just not what you would do if you acquired a 6 or 7 year veteran and expect them to go to Maine to learn there. It's just not what you would do with a veteran basketball player. That's why I think it's not comparable. I'm not downplaying that Maine might play a role in making these guys more ready to play than if they weren't playing there. I just don't think it's comparable to Lonnie Walker. That's when you brought it up, Bobby. That's why I don't think the two things are the same. That's all.
I keep going back to the Kornet example, though, because he's a different guy in New York. He's a different guy in Chicago. Lonnie obviously built what he was through 3 stops there, and he ended up out of the league. He was a great scorer. He was a great, mid-range guy. There were a lot of things about his game that were great. But to fit in on a team like the Celtics, to fit in on a team where he's not going to have the ball in his hands a ton, where he's not going to be able to shoot a lot of shots, you have to change your game. I think Pritchard has even evolved his game, even though he's not a guy who spent time in Maine, but there were minutes to him available in Boston at different points, and there just weren't minutes available to Walker. So I still look back on it, and I wish he embraced that opportunity there to be able to go up there and alter his game and stay close to the lead. I get, John, why you think it sounds ridiculous.
It wasn't happening. It wasn't happening. I mean, there was a report.
I think he was considering it.
Would it have been the best way for him to make it back? You think he's going to go to Lithuania, John, and score 40, and that's going to bring him back?
No, I think he's going to make money there. That's all.
Yeah.
That's it. You're going there to get paid. He's not worried about I'm going to go there, make money, wait for somebody to call me, and I think that's what he's doing there. But I mean, there was a report earlier this week, right, that you shared, Bobby, with they tried to move Springer, and they tried to move Springer to sign Walker, and they were going to put him on the roster, and he was going to be here and probably ride the bench and maybe fight for some minutes. I think that was the plan if they could have moved the contract. They couldn't move the contract, so they lived with it. The main thing just never seemed plausible because, as I said, his veteran standing, somebody like that's going to go overseas, and they went overseas. You're either going to wait and do nothing until your phone rings and somebody offers you a contract to play, as we've seen now multiple players, get signed to teams that have had some injury problems who went unsigned in the offseason. They just waited. Or you go get you go make money, and that's what he did. He's got an out in his contract, which is as soon as the phone rings, he gets to come here and play. I thought that was the most plausible. That's all. But again, who knows? There might still be a path for Walker here, but there might be a path. What Noah said for Peterson, because if the reports are true about if the reports were true about Springer, and people want compensation, which you guys had suggested is very likely. You're not going to be able to trade him straight up in his money. You're going to have to pad it with a pick, and Celtics don't want to give that up. I think they don't have the flexibility to do much else. Peterson might be your guy.
I wouldn't mind that. I think it makes sense. I think you did it with Cada. You did it with Hauser 2 years ago. You waited all year until his contract was $70,000 for the season, and then you sign him and you take no hit there. Obviously, the money, more than anything, was the biggest issue with Lonnie, trying to fit him into that spot. So I think that's what they're going to end up doing here, probably. It doesn't. No one else on the outside makes too much sense, and I think the Lonnie thing is probably sailed at this point.
I'll just say, though, things change so fast in the rotation. This is a guy that 3 days ago, us having this conversation would have sounded preposterous, that Drew Peterson is going to be the 15th roster spot. Literally nobody knew who he was or paid attention to his game or what he brings to the table. And Jordan Walsh a month ago seemed like maybe he was primed for real minutes, and he's kind of fallen off a little bit, even though he got the start today. He hasn't done a whole lot with his opportunity. I think he's been solid. So it's I keep wanting to be like, okay, this is the guy they have in the rotation first. It's Jordan amongst the wings. I don't know that they really know yet. I think that all of those guys, including Baylor, who was definitely behind because of, his late start, they're all in the mix for potentially getting real significant perimeter minutes down the stretch. But I don't know that anybody's established themselves as the guy, although it certainly feels like sitting here right now today that Drew Peterson is the one. But I don't know, because, again, it came out of nowhere. When he checked in yesterday, I think we all did a double take of was that Drew Peterson?
Yeah,
I think
he had
did
a rough summer league. Like Noah said, the stats weren't great in Maine to start this year. But, I tried asking Joe what stood out, or was it a film or a game you watched or a practice? And obviously I talked to Drew before the game about the situation, and like we've said a million times, John, Joe doesn't tell these guys when they're going to play. He flew to Chicago on Thursday for the Friday game from Toronto, where he was playing with Maine, and then Friday he sits on the bench, as I'm sure you expected, and then Sunday they call Drew to start the second quarter, and he thinks it's Drew Holiday. They had to say Drew a couple times to get him in the game, because who would have thought Drew Peterson was going into that game?
And then he plays the entire second quarter.
And
literally
then he played
doesn't
11
sub out.
minutes. Yeah. So that was his values. Remember Brad used to do that all the time, John? Like it was like, oh, Gerald Green's in the game. That was pretty cool by Joe there. And of course, Drew did not know he was going to play.
And I like Joe's answer to you about that.
So, Bobby, we were talking about that earlier. Joe was dying to be asked that question because the other day he gave that answer. We're like, yeah, I don't tell people, and we were all like scratching our head, is like, is that weird? And like, I think Joe was kind of like, why didn't anyone ask me why I don't do that? You know, like, and then you did, and he was like, here, I'll tell you why. Like, it's my ethos. But it makes sense. It makes sense.
Yeah, and Pritchard, I asked him about that too, because obviously Pritchard was in that spot back in the day, and he said it didn't matter to him because you're playing in the scrimmage to start the day, and you're still just going through your routine, and if you get your name called, that's just a bonus, and you're like, yeah. And obviously, I think it makes sense to some degree. I think it probably would help in certain circumstances to give a guy like Drew Peterson, who's showing up from Canada and feels like he has zero chance of playing, but he was still ready to go. So maybe it works. And certainly they've had enormous success plugging and playing guys way down the rotation and winning games under man. So it's almost impossible to argue against it, even though it doesn't sound super conventional.
Peterson has a funky looking shot.
Yeah, he's not Hauser, right? Like,
that release is all the way over to the side. It's such a weird, thing. It's like cocked all the way over to the right side instead of more in front of him or up. I was just paying closer attention to it because it was shooting free. I was like, wow, that's funky looking. But yeah, I don't know. It was really more the attitude and the swagger that he played with. He didn't look like he didn't belong. I don't think you can say that about Shireman in his minutes. And I'll ask you guys, what did you think of the Jordan Walsh minutes? He started. What did he do?
Great. Not great. But it's the opposite of this, right? Peterson comes in, instills himself, makes himself a threat. The biggest problem with Walsh by far to start this year through his opportunities is the defense completely ignores him when he's out there, and that's going to be tough. I think it could probably use a little creativity from the coaches, right? Yesterday's game, I don't know if you saw it, John, but Isaac Okoro, who can't shoot at all, and last year was one of the guys who teams across the league left wide open the most of any player. He's out there rolling and passing, and they're using him in screens and all that sort of stuff. And I think Walsh, that's what it's going to take, I think, for him to succeed offensively in this league, because I don't think the shot's ever going to become big enough of a threat to draw defenders away from other guys. I don't think he's going to be a primary creator on offense and have this great scoring game as we saw over the summer. So screen him, roll him, get him closer to the basket. He's so long in there.
Okoro shooting 47%. Okoro shooting 47%.
Yeah, he's way better this year, but last year
he shot 39% last year.
Yeah, but 39%. Teams wouldn't cover him.
Yeah, dare him to, but yeah, who knows there. But the Walsh stuff again, you see a path here for anything meaningful for him, because this was supposed to be we're going to see something from Walsh season, and he has gotten not extended looks. He gets forgotten from time to time for sure, but he's gotten some run. Overall snapshot of his just how he's been through 21 games.
Yeah, I honestly didn't think this was going to be the season that we saw him at all. I actually thought he was going to be in Maine for a lot of the year based off of what we saw last year and then his really tough summer league. So
didn't we have high hopes for him?
No, I didn't.
Yeah,
I thought you guys did. Okay, maybe.
Yeah, I did.
Maybe it was Bobby. I thought you guys both thought
coming
that
out
he
of the
would
preseason.
That he would pop a little bit because he had
he was awesome in the preseason.
I guess it depends on what exactly you asked us, because leaving Vegas, I thought to myself, we're not seeing this guy in Boston next year. He has another.
It was after the preseason, yeah.
For sure. And then, preseason, he looked good. I want to add, Drew Peterson had a 20-point game in the preseason that I don't think anybody really cared about.
Toronto game, right?
Yeah, but in hindsight, maybe we should have paid more attention. But I don't know that I have a strong take on Jordan Walsh's performance so far. I think he looks comfortable. He hasn't been a negative defensively.
Too, yeah.
But offensively, he's really not looking at all for his shot. I don't know if it's because it's not there. A couple times today I was like, okay, I think he passed up a shot, and then I went back and I was like, I don't know if he even really had a good look, but he's giving them nothing offensively. And then the contrast of Drew Peterson coming in and looking for a shot, and I don't think Drew Peterson's a knockdown like Hauser level shooter at all. The numbers wouldn't suggest that, but there's definitely a level of like experience, and you can see that he's 4 years older in the way that he carries himself. You really can. And so I don't think Jordan Walsh is going to do a whole lot this year, but I do think it's encouraging that he even has gotten to the point in that he started the game tonight. Like, that's a sign of Joe Mazzulla trusting him. It's a sign that he's consistently been in the rotation, even it's ebbed and flowed. I think if Sam Hauser and Jaylen Brown are missing a game, which happened earlier this season, they can rely on him for 20 minutes, but not in the playoffs, and I don't think it's going to be super extended right now.
Yeah, and it's not like he's doing summer league stuff, right, where he's overasserting himself. And
he's almost going too far in the other direction, where it's like, let's see, like one reckless drive.
And that's probably a tough balance to strike, John, especially when you're starting with Payton Brown, the rest of the crew out there. But they need to find ways, I think, to set him up to succeed better. I still lean in that direction, but he has to be aggressive out there too, and obviously he needs to knock down shots when he gets those opportunities. There's a game earlier in the year where he had 2 wide open threes in the corner and missed both of them, and he's done that a lot to start this year. I don't have the percentage in front of me, John, but I can't imagine it's great through the start of this year here. And fortunately, like we've talked about with a million young guys, whether the shot goes in or doesn't go in is going to determine a lot of whether we think these guys are playing good or bad right now. And for Peterson, who again was like 35 up in Maine to start this year, he's like, 40-something through 2 games here with the Boston, maybe even better than that. So he got hot here through these first 2 stints, did some other things well too, of course, right? But this is why he's playing. It's the shooting. And Shireman too, pedigree of a shooter, but hasn't shot well yet in Boston in those situations. So Peterson set himself up well here, I think, to continue to, have an ancillary role.
There's just no role for Walsh right now. I mean, you guys nailed it. If he's not going to hit shots, there's really no use for him. This team is obsessed with maximizing their shot potentials, right? I mean,
that's the bummer, right, Jimmy? If you're Tillman, if you're Wall, like those guys don't fit because they can't shoot.
They're just, at that point, they're just bodies. They're energy guys. The only thing Walsh can do, I'm actually fine with Walsh not wasting field goal attempts because there's 4 other guys that I can guarantee you there's like an 80% chance they're gonna hit the shot over Walsh. He's not there now. He's the guy that could go up to Maine and just work on some confidence or just get his shooting stroke back in some capacity. But I just don't see a role for him on, when it comes to offense like that. But to your point, Bobby, then the defense just cheats off of him, right? And now you can double whoever because no one really cares that Walsh is out there. So put him out there for like a quick, spell to whoever the starter is or the main rotation guy is. But at least this season, something would have to drastically change. You'd have to go really deep into that bench. He's an energy guy. I like the hustle that he gives you out there. He can be physical at times. That's
he's darn hot at the start of this game decently.
Yeah, really all I can say about the guy. And to your point, Peterson's going to get a nod over him because you actually have to defend Peterson. You have to, you can't cheat off him if he's standing at the 3-point line. Whereas Walsh, you can forget he's even out there. So
I did want to ask. Bobby's been trying to bury the Heat for like 9 years, and they just keep like that. They're done. This is it. They're done. They're no good, and they keep coming back and keep doing things. Are you ready to bury them for good, Bobby?
No, because I think they're gonna stay with what they're doing here. I don't think they're going to pull the plug. They've never rebuilt. I think someone nationally said that. They've never decided to.
But there's like drama though right now too, though, isn't there? Like
it feels like there's an underbelly. Again, I was talking to some Miami guys today, and beyond like them being just baffled by the Bam start, not really knowing why that's happening, there hasn't been a lot of drama, I think, in their telling of it. Like it's just been a pretty routine, normal year outside of injuries and guys moving in and out of the lineup, which is what they normally do, right? But normally they're successful in spite of that. But last couple years, they're in that mix, playing bottom of the standings. They still figure out ways to get into the playoffs. And again, that's where they were last year. But Butler goes down. Hawkes goes down in that series. Rozier's out for that entire series, and he didn't look great tonight either.
Oh, my God. What happened to Terry Rozier?
Yeah, he did have a major neck injury.
I know, but holy wow, man.
A lot of people depending on Terry Rozier.
Just a shell. What, you know.
Robinson, right? Nowhere close to the bubble guy. Hero's having a fine year, but
Hero's having a really good year, but the wins aren't translating.
Pritchard put him in a body bag all night. That was, I mean, anyway.
Yeah,
that's fine.
So you said it during the game, Jimmy.
Spider-Man
when Butler's out.
Yeah.
It's hard to pull too much from it, but they're in a really tough spot. And I've said it on a couple podcasts when we've talked about that team. They have to seriously think about pulling the plug on this thing, seeing what they could get for Butler, taking a step back to take a step forward into the future. They'll have money at that point. Guys always want to go to Miami. I don't think it'll be a 3-year step back if they do something like that. Otherwise, they're going to the playoffs as the 8 or 7 seed at best, and they're going to have an uphill battle beating a Boston or whoever's going to be that 2 seed, Milwaukee. Like, they've done it before, but it took some breaks. It took some luck and just enormous, like, otherworldly Butler performances that I don't know. Jimmy, John, you're a big Jimmy Butler guy. It feels like we're past 2020, 2023 even with him.
Yeah, like I said, Jimmy Butler has an expiration date, you know, wherever he goes, and I think he's past
35, right?
You know, with Miami. So, and yeah, I don't think I think he's just some nights not interested in playing at all. It's weird vibes with those guys right now. Yeah,
and they lost to Toronto last night.
Yeah. Weird vibes all around. Anyway,
what was the whole thing, real quick? What was the whole thing? Like, Butler kind of took a stand, like, during the game, like, refused to score, rebound, assist.
They blamed
like,
that on an injury.
No stats. He had no stats.
Like, he didn't exist. He was like an offensive lineman.
Yeah, that
Tony
was
Snell
weird.
game.
Yeah, they ended up pulling him late in that game because of a back, and Spoelstra said today he's still dealing.
You remember
with
the
back
game
on
Kobe did that? Your hero?
Who's hero?
Kobe's your hero?
You guys loved Kobe.
Just unprovoked.
You guys remember the night? You guys remember the night Kobe didn't do it?
I do recall. Yes.
He just didn't shoot. He didn't shoot because people were saying he shot too much. He's like, fine. He just passed the whole game. Like Butler had one of those. He had a 0 stat game is really hard to do. He had it through like 2 quarters. But anyway, so putting a bow on
that game.
It's crazy. Putting a bow on this one, another solid win with a ton of guys going out there. And tomorrow there's cup drama. So we'll see what happens as they have to kind of figure that out, guys.
Closing for my Vegas trip, John.
Yeah, I'm not even sure you're going, but anyway.
Ooh, tough way to find out.
Go ahead, guys. Final thoughts?
17-4. I think that's the reality. That we've nitpicked this team a lot. There, it hasn't been perfect. Joe had a great quote in an athletic article. I don't know when he said it, but he said he really likes where they're at right now because they're not peaking. They have a lot to work on. But even so, you know, he likes the way they've approached. They haven't had a bad practice. They haven't shown no energy. I think that's evident from watching this team. You know, I've been watching a lot of League Pass this past weekend, and so many teams just look so bad. Like, so many teams that had really high expectations coming into the season, and this Celtics team hasn't been perfect, but they're 17-4, and I think they've managed to pull together wins. And when they've lost, it's been very narrowly. They really haven't had like one resounding loss this whole season. Yesterday was one of their. I guess yesterday was a 1-possession game too. So yeah, I've just been impressed across the board. And again, Pritchard to me has been the story.
Yeah, I'm excited about this week. Tonight, huge dud. But Detroit comes in Wednesday. They're playing great, and they're a team you probably overlook. They're going to push you in that game hard. And they have great players, size, all that stuff. So that's going to be a difficult game. Friday, you got Milwaukee coming in. You're going to be missing one of the bigs. Milwaukee's trending upward. His Middleton back at that point. He started 5-on-5s early this week. So maybe they get that return for that game. And they've, played the Celtics pretty well outside of blowing that huge lead in the second game there. So I like that. And then Memphis, one of the best teams in the league to start this year, with Ja back in the lineup and Smart's playing well. He just had like a 25-point game, so I hope he makes it to Saturday.
Yeah.
Is there going to be like some Smart tribute energy, or is it all past because he was
No,
here?
it's in the past. Joe's
But
going to shut it down too.
Well,
They did it.
I know it's a bummer because he didn't play, so it was kind of.
He didn't
It's
play.
gonna be a revenge game type thing, like with Brogdon in DC. So I'm looking forward to that. And the big thing right now,
I'm excited to
looking
see
at-
Marcus. He's going to be big mad, you know.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
they're one of those teams, John. I was looking at it. I think there's like 44 of the last 45 champions have been like top, I think 7 in offense or defense, and like no lower than 18 in the other there. So the 7 teams that fit that bill, Memphis is in it, Cleveland's in it, obviously Boston. So you're starting to see some teams set themselves apart in terms of like their championship credentials right now. You're already down to 7 who fit that category there, and Memphis is one of them. So I hope they make it to Saturday healthy, because obviously last year when they came here, it was like Trey Jameson and like 4
Yeah,
other
it was
guys
this
you've
random
never heard
group.
of.
Yeah, that was that. I was at that Marcus Smart game. That was.
I know, that's why I mentioned it.
That was unbelievable. I went with my brother-in-law, and that was like a big draw. I was like, oh, I get to go to the Marcus Smart game. I don't. Do any of those guys still play professional basketball that started that game? That was the most unbelievable
They play for
lineup.
the Pelicans, because the Pelicans have everybody missing this year.
That was crazy. Anyway, so we have a lot more games this week, so you get a lot more of us. Bobby and Noah will, of course, be covering those games from the Garden. It's a 4-game week. We are back on Wednesday, by which point we will know the Celtics Cup fate and whether or not they get in. So there is a little bit of drama there. But Bobby called it a snoozer. I loved this game. I really did like it.
I did too.
Yeah.
The
I
Heat
really
gave you
did.
Zero resistance.
I know, but I just like that they did it with the pieces that they did it with, and it's nice to see that they can do that. One thing we didn't mention, I think it deserves a small. Man, we didn't talk about it at all.
Derek White.
I was worried about Derek White, and then he played and he was fine. And so thank goodness, because like foot injuries can be tricky, and the Celtics aren't really like open and forthcoming about injury status. And so I didn't know. And Bobby, I know you were kind of hearing that it wasn't going to be a big deal, but I know sometimes that's said and you never know. And if it's the type of thing that can come back and linger, or, you know, whatever, he was fine, and it's great to have his calming presence back in the lineup. You know, you miss it like crazy when it's gone.
Never left.
Yeah, and he's just right back in, and he's just doing Derek White things like he never left. So that's good.
By the way,
good thing
Spo
to see.
said a great story before the game. Obviously, he was on that USA staff, and he said at one point during those USA practices, across all the practices, White blocked pretty much everybody on the team out there. So that was a fun story from Spo before the game, and he had a ton of praise for White.
Yeah, that's good stuff. Anyway, it was great to have White. I like the win. 17-4, as Noah said. There's really not much more to say. And honestly, I don't think you can complain about really anything, as the Celtics are past the quarter pole of the season. At this point, they're 4 losses. They've all had leads in late in the game. No team has come out and dominated the Celtics. The Celtics have won with B- efforts. They've won with A+ efforts. It's just been an overall – they're not bored by success, and that was, I think, the fear. And we're 20 plus games into the season, and you can probably safely say that I don't think it's going to happen. So
well, you know what, too,
upward.
not
Yeah.
to cut you off, but guys are contributing that have no reason to be bored. You know, talking about Pritchard, talking about Kornet, talking about some of these guys coming off the bench filling in.
Pritchard's been so important in that.
They don't have a reason to be bored. Yeah, they won a championship as well, but they want to increase their roles. They want to be a bigger part of another championship when that does come. So guys are just stepping in, and, you know, on nights where, and like a guy like Porzingis, he has no reason to be bored either. He probably feels like he has unfinished business. So there's it's a good dynamic between the superstar guys that, you know, sort of led the way last season, and the players who are kind of stepping into larger roles now. There's a good transition of the two. So I think you might avoid that, you know, that second year, you know, little lull that some teams go in after a championship. So we'll see. What's that?
Well said, Jimmy.
Thank you. I had to say something. The chat's telling me that I'm asleep.
I know I know. Well,
I've been just listening. I mean, what am I supposed to do? Talk over our two reporters?
When we get to the Bobby Noah portion of the show, we just kind of turn
like,
it over and get your
let
takes.
the pros
So,
do their thing. I know. You don't want to hear me ramble about nonsense. That's the first half of the show.
Yeah. So thanks again. Thanks again for hanging out. We've got more Garden Reports this week. Thanks, Bobby and Noah. Thanks, Jimmy. We'll have Sherrod back on the show later this week as well. We'll see you guys on Wednesday. No one's sneaking a vegan brownie by me. I'll tell you that.
Okay, you know what, John? We're going to do it.
You have to feel that way too, Bobby.
I have to feel that way.
Let's fly Al over and make Luke your first center.
Bobby, we gave you Luke an hour early. We're not going to end this on a damn conversation about Luke